In the high-stakes world of the NFL, a top draft pick is supposed to be the guy, right? He's the cornerstone you build around for the next decade. But that's not always how it goes. Welcome to NFL Nexus. Today, we are diving deep into the really puzzling and, let's be honest, shocking story of quarterback Anthony Richardson and the Indianapolis Colts. It's a story packed with just immense promise, some absolutely brutal misfortune, and a series of front office decisions that have left both a franchise and a young career at a major crossroads. So, yeah, let's get right into it.
So this is it. This is the big question at the very heart of this whole thing. The one that's got to be bouncing around the Colts facility and really the entire league. How does a player that was hailed as a franchise savior, like 36 months ago, suddenly find himself on the trade block with apparently no takers? I mean, this isn't your typical draft bust story. We're not talking about a seventh rounder who couldn't make the team. This was a top 5 gamble, a massive investment of draft capital, money, and hope that has just backfired in the most spectacular way. It is a fall from grace that's as fast as it is just stunning.
Okay, so to really understand what went so wrong, we have to start with the jarring reality of right now. Back in 2023, the Colts made what they thought was this huge franchise-altering move. Fast forward to early 2026, and now they're just desperately trying to slam the reset button, putting their once prized possession right out there on the open market.
Now you gotta look closely at this slide, because the key word, the killer word, is minimal. In the coded language of the NFL, that is just a brutal assessment. It's not just that Richardson is available for trade. It's that the other 31 teams are basically not even picking up the phone. For a quarterback who's only 24 years old, with his kind of elite physical tools, minimal interest is a catastrophic sign. It tells you everything you need to know. It tells you his injury history and that big rookie contract have created this perfect storm of red flags that are scaring everybody else away. But what put him in this spot to begin with?
$88 million. That number right there, that's the price tag that officially sealed Anthony Richardson's fate in Indianapolis. See, when the Colts handed that 2-year contract to veteran QB Daniel Jones, they weren't just signing a new guy. Oh no, they were signaling a complete and total change in direction for the franchise. This isn't high-end backup money. This isn't a contract to create competition in the QB room. $88 million is a declaration. It is a loud and clear statement that Daniel Jones is now the leader of this offense, and the team is officially moving on into a new era that just doesn't include their former top pick as the centerpiece. In the cold, hard business of the National Football League, a big money contract is a statement of intent. And in this case, that statement was a very clear message to Anthony Richardson. Your time here is up. I mean, think about it. In the span of a single offseason, he went from being the anointed face of the franchise to basically just a casualty of the salary cap. He became, in these blunt business terms, surplus to requirements. The writing wasn't just on the wall, it was written in permanent ink on another quarterback's multi-million-dollar contract.
And all of this brings us to the man right in the middle of this storm, Colts general manager Chris Ballard. He's now stuck with this incredibly awkward and very public job of trying to sell a player he once sold to his own fan base as the future. It's really a masterclass in trying to navigate a PR nightmare.
So, in public, Chris Ballard is playing the part you'd expect. He's the supportive, almost reluctant GM. He's talking up Richardson's ability, his maturity, his youth. He sounds like a guy who still believes in his player. But we all know that behind the scenes, a very, very different story is playing out. And in the cutthroat world of the NFL, it's the actions, not the carefully chosen words you give to the media, that really tell the truth.
And this slide right here, this just lays the hypocrisy of the whole situation bare. Ballard's words are a total smokescreen, right? It's a PR narrative designed to mask what the team is actually doing. Just look at the disconnect. He says, I still want good for Anthony, man, while at the same time signing his big money replacement. He calls him a good dude and talented, while his phone lines are burning up trying to ship him out of town. But that last line, that's the tell. There's definitely a scenario there he could remain, is pure classic GM speak for our asking price is too high and nobody's met it yet. Every single compliment becomes a negotiation tactic. Every vote of confidence, a desperate attempt to salvage some tiny shred of trade value for a damaged asset. So how did it all go so spectacularly wrong? To really get why the Colts decided to move on and why other teams are so hesitant to move in, we gotta rewind the tape. Anthony Richardson's story is really a tragic tale of what-ifs. It's a career that was defined by this tantalizing promise, but was ultimately just derailed by a relentless and almost unbelievable string of bad luck. It all started with so much hype back in 2023. Richardson was seen as this physical marvel, a quarterback with the size of a linebacker and the speed of a running back.
But the reality on the field, it was brutal. Over his first 2 seasons, he missed a staggering 17 regular season games. That's an entire season's worth of football. You know the old saying, the best ability is availability, and he just wasn't available enough to get any kind of rhythm or consistency. And then came the final, almost comical blow in October 2025, a freak orbital fracture, a broken bone in his face, and he didn't even suffer it in a game. It happened during pregame warm-ups from a stray pass. You can't make this stuff up. As Ballard himself said, the kid has had some freaking bad luck. And that brutal string of injuries is what ultimately led the Colts to where we are today. And because of all this, Richardson's story has now become the poster child for one of the oldest debates in NFL scouting: traits versus production. The Colts bet the farm on his incredible physical traits, the rocket arm, the 6'4" frame, the ridiculous speed. But in doing so, they overlooked the warning signs from his college career, the inconsistent accuracy and, crucially, a history of nagging injuries. His downfall is this stark, cautionary tale for every NFL GM out there who gets seduced by the idea of raw, unteachable talent. It's a reminder that potential means absolutely nothing if a player can't stay on the field to realize it. Now, it's pretty tempting to just write off the Richardson pick as a simple, isolated case of just terrible injury luck. But what if it's not? What if this huge, high-profile failure is actually part of a much bigger problem? What if it's a symptom of a deeper, more concerning issue inside the Colts front office and with their entire draft philosophy? A bust of this magnitude, a top 5 pick just completely flaming out, it inevitably leads to questions about the person who pulled the trigger. And in this case, all eyes are now turning to Chris Ballard. This forces us to zoom out and look at his entire draft record, especially with his most valuable picks on day 1 and day 2 of the draft. The rounds where you are expected to find foundational, starting caliber players. And when you look closer, a pretty disturbing pattern starts to emerge. This table, this tells a really painful story of just squandered opportunities. These aren't late-round flyers. These are all guys taken with premium draft picks who were expected to be cornerstones for this team. Quincy Wilson, a second-round corner, traded for basically nothing. Terrell Basham, gone before his second season even got going. But really, focus on that cluster of defensive ends. Basham, Ture, Banogu. All day 2 picks, all spent trying to fill arguably the second most important position in the modern NFL behind quarterback. And not one of them, not one, came close to being an impactful starter. This isn't just one miss, it's a string of failed attempts at a critical position. So what this data really suggests is that this isn't just a string of bad luck, it's a pattern of failure. The Colts, under Chris Ballard, have a clear and documented problem when it comes to drafting and developing defensive talent in the rounds that matter the most. And this raises the ultimate question for the whole organization. Where does the blame really lie? Is it a scouting problem, meaning they're picking the wrong guys to begin with? Or is it a coaching and development problem, meaning they're failing the players they bring into the building? Whatever the cause, it's a systemic issue that has held this franchise back for years. And all of this brings us right back to today, where 2 careers now hang in the balance. You've got the player, Anthony Richardson, whose future is completely up in the air, and the general manager, Chris Ballard, whose entire legacy is now on the line. For Anthony Richardson, his future is completely out of his hands. He just has to sit and wait for one of the other 31 teams to decide that his immense physical gifts are worth the undeniable risk that comes with them. He needs a team to believe that they can succeed where the Colts failed. And maybe most importantly, he needs them to believe they can figure out a way to finally keep him on the field. That is an incredibly difficult and humbling position for anybody to be in, let alone a guy who was once the 4th overall pick in the entire draft. And then there's Chris Ballard. For him, the Richardson debacle is way more than just another draft miss. It's a massive public stain on his entire legacy. It's the most high-profile failure in a pretty long line of questionable draft decisions. And as he heads into his 10th year as GM, which is an eternity in the NFL, the pressure from ownership and the fan base to finally build a consistent winner is more intense than has ever been. His job and his whole reputation are firmly on the line. And so, the Colts find themselves at this massive crossroads. The Anthony Richardson experiment was a costly, painful failure. But the real question is, what, if anything, have they learned from it? Are they going to keep gambling on these risky, traits-based prospects while failing to develop the talent they bring in? Or will they finally learn from their mistakes and adjust their whole philosophy to build a team that can actually compete? That's what we want to hear from you. Do you think Ballard is to blame, or was this whole thing just a case of terrible luck? Let us know what you think down in the comments below. And hey, don't forget to like this explainer and subscribe to NFL Nexus for more deep dives into the biggest stories in football. And a quick note, if you're looking for something cool for the sports fans in your family, we've actually released a series of coloring books that are perfect for kids and adults alike. You can check those out using the link in the description or the QR code on your screen right now. Thanks for watching.